our this month's candle. So let's take a look at how things are looking so far for the monthly. All right, I don't think much has changed since yesterday, to be honest. I think we're still in the same range as we were in the NY session yesterday, but let's just do the breakdown just so we have a little refresher of what to expect. Fuck, I did not change the resolution, chat. Oh wait, no, I lied. I did. It didn't turn out too well. I think I have to I might have to switch back to my old monitor, chat, to stream. I might use this monitor on the side or something, because the resolution can't, like, even if it is changed, it's still very small. Like, even if I put a full screen, I gotta change the overlay completely to change, to make it look a little. Or maybe, you know what, maybe I can do this. I don't know if this will work though. Hold on. Display capture. Like, does that make it any better? Not right. That doesn't do anything. Does not do anything. Like, I can do this. But still, if I do full screen, I might have to change the overlay though. That's the thing. I'm gonna have to change everything else. Like, I gotta move my camera around, shift things around. You know, my chart has been on the right side of the screen. I can do that though. It's not a problem. But I think I'll do it when after I move, because I'm gonna make a new overlay and everything too. Like, everyone in DV doesn't have a new overlay anyways, so I'll figure it out. All right. Anyways, so taking a look here at the monthly here, chat, you're gonna notice and see that you found some type of resistance here, right? Like, looking left, looking left across, you're gonna see a lot of rejections here in the past. You can see some rejections there, some rejections down here, some rejections over here, right? So this is a pretty strong level of rejection. I'll say in this area, price could reject any given point, and it could lead us down towards the next bottom of the range, which is gonna be this area on price over here. This area over here on price, right? So that's kind of what, like, that's the range that you're sort of in right now. The range that you're kind of bouncing in between, from 2000 to 1985. Again, it's a pretty massive range, but again, just understanding the range you're in helps you a lot, because if you were to be in a situation to, like, be open to both biases and understand that, understand both sides of things, you understand that in order for us to drive up, you would need a clear closure above the range, right? But if you didn't close above the range at any given point, what could happen, right? Because now you're asking yourself, like, what possibly could happen? What could the outcome be if you weren't to continue driving up, right? Obviously, a closure above the range would look like this, would be great to go up, sure. But, like, if you were to just, like, do something like this, where you you reject, right? The next target, realistically, if you were to reject, is going to be the bottom of the range, right? But again, you need liquidity for that to happen. And as we mentioned yesterday and the day priors, liquidity, I am expecting 2040 to get tapped into, right? Because that's like, if I were to look left and circle all the rejection levels to the left here, you're gonna see the average of rejections would be within this area here, which within like 2025 to 2030. So 2025 2030 is the minimum target I'll have for the monthly if the monthly were to drive bullish, or if it were to drive bearish. It doesn't matter, because if it were to drive down, it would need liquidity, and if it were to drive up, obviously we're just driving up. So there's no need to. It's just gonna tap 25, obviously, right? So that's sort of what I have for the monthly. Expecting 2025 to get tapped. So if that's what we're expecting for the monthly, we could take buys going up towards 2025. So that's the first idea now for the monthly. Again, that's the monthly time frame. It has nothing to do with today's analysis, today's charts at all, with the 5, 15, 30 minute time frame, 1 hour, 4, nothing. It's just the monthly outlook and what to expect over the next 22 days as we have folders coming in and we have more catalyst driving price, right? But the weekly time frame here, looking at the weekly, we have 2 days left and 10 hours. We have until Friday close, and it looks like we are starting to reject a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys see this, but like over here to the left, like you have these levels here that's being respected, and you have this resistance up here. This is like the range that you're sort of bouncing in right now, and obviously, like, if you look at this range here, I would assume that price would be able to make its way up towards the top of the range here, which is 2010, 2020. Why? Because you haven't filled that range yet. If you look left at all the times where price was able to drive down, looking left, you're looking at maybe this green box here to the left, right? All the times where price is able to drive down, where did it drive down from? It drove down from the top of the range. Price never reached the top of the range yet. So if you were to mirror this push down, you'd have to probably likely tap the highs first and you grab liquidity, because right now you're in this range right now. Right now you're in the same boat as this, where you had a high being formed here, right? And then you had like maybe like a bearish range here being formed, which is this, right? And then you don't have this move up yet. And this is the move we're looking for, this push up towards the top of the range at 2020. And then afterwards, sure, you range for a little bit, but then afterwards you'll see that push down that we were sort of looking at in this blue zone here to drive down, right? But you don't have that push up yet in that pink zone. So that's what we're expecting the weekly to do, which is flip bullish to continue driving up towards 2010, right? Which is also the monthly target as well, or need a monthly target at 2020, 2030s. So again, I'm pretty bullish for the weekly. I would expect price to drive up, but let's see how the daily looks. The daily will play into effect of today's weekly, obviously, or this week's weekly candle. Now I'm not too sure. I think I just noticed this right now. I thought last night for some reason you closed respecting support, but I'm not sure if you guys saw my Instagram story as well. You're gonna see that, I mean, I had this range marked up as my support. I had this range marked up as my resistance. And I would assume that if price was to drive down, right? Look at the next target you have. Like, where's the next support you have on price here, chat? Let's ask the chat here. So if I were to like take my tool out here, right? And I were to start from here. As I go down, I want you guys to say stop whenever you feel like you guys know what I'm talking about. Whenever the next support is, or where the next support is, all right? So starting from here, all right? As I go down, just spam stop in the chat whenever you believe the next support is. All right, looks like everyone spam stop. Cool. Yeah, so right, like you're looking at roughly in these areas here between 1933 and 1920. Okay, but that's a pretty far range, I'll say. But in this area here, right, just in general. So like, why in that area? Because looking left, you do have like clean traffic with these candles to the left, right? Like that's just a mirror of price. But in order to get that mirror on price, I believe you would need to grab liquidity. And I'm looking towards these areas here to the left. I'm looking at like this top wick and this top wick area. Likely gonna be this top wick area here in 1990, 1995, just because that I'm looking to, if you're looking to mirror this pole here, I would assume that you'd be able to mirror the same traffic down, right? Therefore, if you were to drive down, you would likely see a top wick in the same zone, right? Which is like this, preferably, because that would then line up with this now across same wick area, right? So I would assume that you get a top wick for this candle before driving down, just to grab liquidity, because again, that's a pretty far range, like 1918, like that's a pretty decent range coming down, right? You would definitely need a lot of liquidity for that to happen. I would be very surprised if prices makes its way down without grabbing liquidity. But yeah, like that's the daily structure. Like you can also see that the daily structure is starting to be broken as well. You're starting to like, you know, form a high here, and you're forming a low, and then you're forming a new high, and then a low, and then a high, right? And then a low, but like you're starting to form structure, right? So if you were to come up, create another high, it would just look like this. This is making a new lower high to drop down for a new lower low, right? But yeah, I would assume that with the no top wick areas, that would be your liquidity zone within this box here, right? Anywhere between like 1980 and then 1992. Like those are the two areas I'm looking at for the daily time frame. Now, again, that's gonna require a lot of volume. Again, like to even come up that steep towards 1990, think about it, right? Because we're overall like looking to see this range fill coming down on gold, right? But before coming down on gold, you need that liquidity before coming down. So if you were to come down, I mean, again, you would assume you'll see a candle pushing up first, right, towards those areas. So could we be in a position to look for buys? We can, right? That's the idea that I'm coming after today. I'm trying to see if I can look for buys going up to fill the top of the range. Now, a couple things we can take advantage of here. Looking left, you can obviously see the 4 hour time from here. You're closing off in about an hour and a half, an hour and 19 minutes here. But if you zoom in closely, you're gonna notice that we are also closing and respecting this support here to the left here. So there's a bond range being respected here to the left at like 1965, 1960, and this is like your top of the range over here in 1982, or even like here, maybe I'll say more of here, probably 1977. This is the range you're in, right? So if price was to reject and continue up for the daily, wouldn't it make sense if the 4-hour candle were to flip bullish in this area before driving up, right? I would say so. I would say that I would assume this 4-hour candle to flip bullish, and then maybe even close bullish on the 4-hour close to continue driving up for the rest of the 4-hour candle, and then the next 4-hour candle maybe could just fill the top of the range like this. Or, you know, worst case, we can even close below the range like this, but then the next 4-hour candle any given point could just create a top wick for that candle high because we had no top wick, right? And that can also be a drive as well, depending on how steep we open up for a bottom wick, right? But if that's the idea behind price today, then I can look for potential buys going up right now to fill the top of the range. Because if you're respecting the support, your next minor resistance, like very minor area, would be the top of the range here at 1970. So we have potential buys from 63 up until 1970 here. So could we get buys going up? Of course. Let's see where though, because we may need liquidity to be grabbed still, unless that was it down here at 1959. But I'm not too sure on that just yet. Let me just take a look here. Yeah, so you have about 17 minutes for a 1-hour close. The 1-hour close, I'll say, would be pretty key here. I wouldn't assume that we'll drive up just yet after a bottom wick. Let's see. There's some type of minor support over here to the left as well, so I would want to see us close above here for the ADM candle. And then if you were to close there, then you should be good to drive up towards 1969, which is going to be a 55 to 60 pip range here. I'm just trying to figure out if that was liquidity being formed, or to drive towards 69, or do we need a steeper wick? But I don't think we'll need a steeper wick, chat, to be honest, because if the 1-hour candle were to close respecting like 63, I would assume that like you're closing back into this range here. Therefore, this is the range you're looking to fill now, just to push up towards 69. So I don't think you need that much of a steeper wick to push up towards 69. Now, if you were to like push up towards like 73, sure, you know, you may need a steeper wick. You may need to see like something like this form first, to the left here, right? Like this, like you need to see the breakout lows, like looking at very identical to this push to the left hand side here. Sure, that can push you up towards 76, right? But in this situation here, if price is showing you signs that it's closing respecting 63, then that's the range you're breaking into. You can probably look for buys once you just close respecting, or maybe even above like 65 going up towards 69. That should be good for you to grab here. So let's see, we have 15 minutes left for a closure. You have a 15-minute close right now in 45 seconds, which I don't think really matters, to be honest. I think the 1-hour closure would be more important, obviously. Yeah, so probably trades around like 805, 810, maybe 820, similar to what we had yesterday, chat, for potential buys today. Let's see, what else can I say? Yeah, I'm also open to sells too, for those wondering, like, you know, why are you buying Dawn today? The day kind of looks bearish. Again, I am expecting liquidity to be grabbed before coming down today, so I do technically have a bearish bias today, right? But there's things that needs to happen before you get the sells down, which is liquidity, which is structure, which is zone, right? So I mean, sells for me today, I can say, I mean, pretty straightforward. If you were to like close below, probably, well, first of all, I think for sells today, I would prefer to take sells after the 4-hour closes, because if the 4-hour candle were to close below this range like this, then that's kind of your confirmation that we're closing below the range. Therefore, the next 4-hour candle, you would assume you get a top wick and then a drive down. Possibly something like this would be nice, right? And then you can just grab sells down to flip, or after the top wick is being formed. But at least you know that the 4 candle closed below, and that's your main confluence behind the 4-hour sells coming down, right? So for sells, I would say they'll take a little longer to set up. 2-hour analysis at least. Might take until like 9:30 after the speech goes on, right? 9:30, 10 a.m. ish. But for the buys, you can probably take the buys pre-speech, to be honest. From now to 9:15, you can probably look for buys. But yeah, I'll say wait for the 1-hour close, and let me mark up my structure again. I think I want to mark it up on a smaller time frame because this is just the 1 hour, but I would assume it's the same level. me just see some. I think today for the buys, like, you can probably play a small time frame ranges. You don't necessarily have to wait for the higher time frame ranges, because your higher time frame range trend is the sells down, right? So if you're looking for buys going up and you understand that's just a 4 hour and daily top wick, then it doesn't really matter, because that's already your higher time frame trend. You don't need to, if you're not looking for sells, there's no need to look for the higher time frame trend today, because you're looking for the pullback for the buys up, right? To grab liquidity. So it makes sense just to drop down to a small time frame, look for buys up. Right, if we're like swinging the daily, sure. Like if we were looking for a daily top wick to come down, yeah, sure, we can wait for like we can take a sell limit here or something like that, like 1893, right? But again, we're nowhere near 93 yet, so we're pretty far away from there. And if we're looking for buys up, it won't make sense to just look at the daily, right? Because we understand what the day is already doing, and the day is coming up for a top wick. So all we gotta do is scale into a small time frame and look for a structure on a smaller time frame to take buys going up. But yeah, like that's what I got going on today, chat. That's the 5-minute support. I'm just trying to see where's the next resistance. I think it was 69-ish areas, 70 areas. I'll say 70.445 should be pretty good here. Maybe a little lower. Actually, yeah, that should be good. It's a general target. Cool, that's the bottom of the range. You tap there. See, this is where I'm having trouble with. I'm just trying to figure out if we're gonna mirror this pull first down towards 5.4 before pushing up, or if that's it. Because if that's it at 60 and that's where you respect price off of, then you can probably look for buys going up towards, like, again, 68, 69. You know, that should be pretty decent. But to drive up past those levels, you might have a hard time if you don't grab enough liquidity. But it's fine. I think that this is enough of a range for us to catch anyways. Yeah, I'll say anything above here, chat, should be pretty good. Anything above 65.090. Could we take a wick entry? We could also take a wick entry, yeah. Like, I'll say wick entries could be good if they were to be within this zone here. Like, it's a long shot and it's quite far away, right? But if the price were to keep rejecting, then probably wick entries would be around like 1951, I'll say. Yeah, 1951 going up towards like 1970 or 1960 should be pretty good. But the issue is, like, you're quite far away, right? So like for that to happen, you need to come down first without creating a top wick. So I mean, let's see how the 1 hour candle closes here, because we are going to close bearish likely in 10 minutes. And if you do close bearish, and this is what price does, as long as it closes respecting, I'll say, this strong support to the left, any given point, it could rip down because you do have a bearish closure, but that could just be a bottom wick for us to rip back up and end up doing something like this for all I know. Right? So we could take buys at like 51 areas going up, but it's quite far from 51. 100 pips away.